have all the kids outside then, and then we're going to get you two.
I told him I was coming in cycle. Cycle here. I can cycle home.
Hello, how are you? I'm very well, how are you? Yes, I'm shopping. That was a mistake.
See you later.
Excellent.
Coming with you.
Yes,
I mean, I'm trying to grab Sarah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Stuff tradition.
You go together. We can do what we want.
You can do what you want.
Janet says we can
You
do
can do
what
whatever
we
you
want.
like. I'm on this side. Yes. Okay. And you're on that side. Right. Stay there a second. I just need to prompt somebody to come and close the doors after we're in, because there's a lot of.
There are.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Hello, little one.
Yes. Hello, Lily. Lily, Maisie. Big step. Big step. Maisie's gonna fall flat on her ears. And she's gonna cry. Yes. Big step, Lily. Oh, Maisie, what's that? Oh, Maisie. We'll follow you, Maisie.
Right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to go in. I'm going to ask everybody to stand up.
Yes.
Okay.
Class. This is exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you please to be standing for the bride and the groom?
And the green. All together.
That's us.
That's us. And the best.
And the best people.
The best people.
We're the best people.
Either side.
Come and join us in the middle. Take centre stage, why don't you? Why not? Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. And Maisie and I can see are already making themselves up. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. On behalf of Joan and John, I'd like to welcome you all to what I'm sure you'll agree is this stunning setting. And I'd like to also thank you all for coming to be with us today to share in the happiness of their wedding. I know that many of you have travelled a long way to be with us, and that for some, it's your first visit to Scotland. We're truly a multinational group today. We have guests from Scotland, England, Ireland, Denmark, Norway and Australia. Have I missed anybody? Wales. And Wales, of course. Sorry. And it means an awful lot to Joan and to John that you've made that journey. They consider themselves privileged to have both your friendship and the pleasure of your company today. Today is all about celebrating. We celebrate the love that John and Joan have found together. We celebrate the fact that they are surrounded by a loving and supportive family and friends. And we're celebrating the fact that after 10 years together, John finally got around to popping that on. Before we move on to talking about this very special couple, I should perhaps say a few words about myself and my part in the proceedings. My name is Janet Donnelly, and I'm an authorised celebrant from the Humanist Society of Scotland. And that means that I have the honour of performing Joan and John's marriage ceremony today. Humanism is a way of looking at life which focuses on those things which bring people together, rather than anything which may come between us. One of the central tenets of humanism is that we believe that we have one life to live and a duty to live that life to the full, using reason, compassion and tolerance as our guides. This means that when we find love, we should grasp it firmly with both hands and hold tightly onto it. When I first met Joan and John, I did wonder whether maybe they were a bit young to be contemplating marriage. Whether maybe a few more years of getting to know each other might be in order. But they soon convinced me that they knew exactly what they were doing, and we find ourselves here today. They chose to have a humanist ceremony as they felt that it would most closely reflect their outlook and views on life. It's a ceremony which has been designed by them, and it focuses on their unique relationship and their wish that today be not just about them, but also about all of you too, the people who mean most to them. Now, the perceptive amongst you will have noticed that we are departing a little from the traditional wedding ceremony. Traditionally, a bride would be walked down the aisle and given away by her father. Now, I'm sure you'll all agree that the notion of Joan belonging to anybody and being given away to anybody belongs firmly in the Dark Ages. But that doesn't mean that it isn't a very big day for Joan's dad, Gravel. And I know that he is as proud as any dad has ever been to be here today, to see his daughter get married, and that he wishes Joan and John all the best in their future life together as husband and wife. Thank you. More departures from the traditional. We don't just have a best man, we have Andrew, who is best son, and we have Linda, who is best sister. Equally important to Joan and John are Joan's mum, Ruth, and John's daughter, Angela, and so they have asked them to be our official witnesses today. I'd also like to make a very special mention of Joan's nephew, John, who is not only an usher today, but who has also been, incredibly helpful in the run-up to the wedding. They are all here to support Joan and John, but we also have Lily and Maisie, our beautiful flower girls. Thank you for everybody for all of your work in organising things for today, and to everyone who's made a contribution to the forthcoming festivities that I know you've got coming up this evening. So now our thoughts turn to Joan and John. I said a little earlier that today was all about celebrating. Not only are Joan and John celebrating coming together as husband and wife, but their families are coming together too to form one large extended family, which is united by the happiness that Joan and John found. Once they've signed on the dotted line, Joan will officially become stepmother and step-granny, but the only difference to her will be the formality of the title. Joan and John have each been welcomed into each other's family, and they don't need an official piece of paper to tell them that family are the most important people in your lives. Joan and John have been together, as I said, for 10 years, and in that time they have learned that they have the qualities and the abilities that complement each other. They fit together like pieces of a jigsaw, each filling in the gaps left by the other, and this works very, very well for them. Joan and John have asked me to share a lovely Robert Burns poem with you. It's one of John's favourites, and it has a little bit of a theological bent to it as well, so it fits very well. My love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till a' the seas gang dry. Till a' the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare thee well, my only love, and fare thee well a while, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 miles. Now, when I first met Joan and John, we talked about what today meant to them, and I also asked them to tell me a little bit about how they got together and what makes them tick as a couple. This is their story in their own words. It all started when they met in Aberdeen. Joan's first impression was that John was one of the nicest people she had ever met. No, really? tried to forget about him and get on with her life, but it wasn't going to be quite that easy. John, for his part, admits to loving spending time in Joan's company, but couldn't see their relationship going anywhere because of their differing backgrounds and education and interests. And in his words, the prospect of any real involvement was very scary. Luckily, the fear subsided, and after a while, they came to realise that opposites really can attract, and that they work together as a team. The relationship blossomed into much more than just friendship. They travelled the world, they bought a yacht, and they learned a lot from each other. John learned the difference between sandstone and concrete, and the fact that there is more to life than work. Joan learned to sail, and her first ever proper voyage was 3.5 days returning from Norway when she retired. And anyone who's ever sailed knows what a big deal this must have been. If there are only 2 of you on board, each must have absolute trust in the other to steer and maintain a watch. If they manage that, I would say it's a pretty good indication of the relationship that they have built together. Joan's seagoing expertise, I have to say, does remain deficient in one very important area though. The art of nautical knot tying remains a mystery. So let's hope she does a better job tying the knot today. That was John's joke, not mine. It hasn't all been plain sailing though. No, that was mine. When Joan was ill, John looked after her beautifully, and in return, Joan makes him eat healthy food, which he hates. Their complementary skills mean that John is the practical one who can turn his hand to pretty much anything except gardening. Joan is more one for theorising and visualising, but she's the one with the green fingers, so they have all bases covered between them. They accept their differences, and they don't try to change each other, except for the healthy eating bit, which is non-negotiable. And that's perhaps an example that many of us could learn from. One of the most important ingredients in a lasting relationship is laughter, and there's no shortage of this for Joan and for John. They understand each other's sense of humour and make each other laugh, which is probably a good thing, because when John proposed to Joan, totally out of the blue on her birthday last year, he said he proposed so that he didn't have to buy her a birthday present. So who said romance was dead? Together, as a couple, Joan and John are stronger than the sum of their parts. They have learned over the years that depending on each other is not the same as being dependent on each other. And they have learned that each of them can retain their own individuality at the same time as allowing someone else into their lives to share and to shape their hopes and dreams for the future. Today, Joan and John promise their commitment to share all that life holds for them, and to do it with maturity, cooperation and understanding, and most importantly, with the person they love by their side. Now, when I asked Joan and John what it was that they loved about each other, this is what they told me. And I should tell you all at this point that I asked them to keep their answers secret from each other. So this is the first time that either of them have heard this part of our ceremony. So what does Joan love about John? She told me. As we haven't got 2 hours, I'll try to mention just a few things out of the many that I love about John. John is very clever. He has the skill to be able to make or fix anything. At least I've not found anything he can't do. He also has the enviable quality of being able to fall asleep anywhere at any time. And the snoring is optional. John is calm and patient and kind, and he makes me laugh. So what did John tell me? Joan is always determined to put more into our relationship than she takes out. She looks after me much better than I ever looked after myself, and bosses me into keeping fit and healthy. Joan has shown great affection to my children, my grandchildren, and my family, and because of her personality, this has been reciprocated, and it means that that has given me great pleasure. When we were chatting about why they decided to get married today, John told me, "Our lives have become now so closely entwined that we have decided to get married." And I think that when I look back to today, and I look at Joan and John, I think the word entwined will stand out for me as being the perfect description of the relationship that they have built together. So we come to the part of our ceremony now, where Joan and John will make their promises of commitment to each other. Could you turn and face each other?
You can turn all over my God.
Joan and John, will you seek as mature people to have a loving marriage, allowing it and each other to change and develop, supporting each other in happiness and sorrows, health and illness?
We will.
Will you seek to live together as equal and different individuals, and to recognise and accept each other's strengths and weaknesses?
We will.
Will you seek to always learn from your shared experiences, and to build from them a full and caring friendship based on trust and respect?
We will.
Joan and John are now going to exchange rings as tangible symbols of the promises that they've made. The wedding ring is a circle, a symbol of wholeness, of strength, of cooperation and peace. It's got to be done. It's not a wedding ceremony without that. Sorry. Give that to Joan. The wedding ring is a circle, and the circle represents the seasons of life itself. The circle of these rings represents a symbol of Joan and John's love and strength for each other. John, can you place the ring on Joan's finger and repeat after me, please? I, John.
I, John.
Accept you, Joan.
Accept you, Joan.
As my wife.
As my wife.
And I give you this ring.
And I give you this ring.
As a symbol.
As a symbol.
Of the promises that we have made today.
Of the promises that we have made today.
Joan, place the ring on Joan's finger. And repeat after me. I, Joan. Accept you, John. As my husband. And I give you this ring. And I give you this ring. As a symbol. Of the promises that we have made today. Joan and John, you have made your own personal promises of commitment to each other, and you've exchanged rings as signs of that commitment. You have also made the required legal declarations in front of me and in front of your witnesses, and it now gives me the greatest of pleasure to be able to pronounce that Joan and John are now husband and wife. And then we will send the newlyweds off up the aisle with a wee well wish. Come and have a seat. You get to sit down now for a minute. What is it? Have a seat. And the front seats. That's we closed the doors. Yes, we got John to close the doors so we couldn't run away. Okay, I'll just put this over here for the ladies.
Can I ask you to just put your rings up here, your hands over this, just to get, no, and your hands as well, just to get all over the top of the flyers. Right on, right on.
For me.
Oh,
I see, like that.
Just so I can see your two rings.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Gorgeous. Should the flyers back. We do it one more time for me. The flyers back. I do it one more time, sorry. One more time.
I'm sorry, that's my mistake. I put you to sign in the wrong space. Could you sign in that one for me?
That's beautiful, thank you.
Two for Norway. Thank you. Just do that. Okay. You sign in that. And then you'll have to pose officially for everybody else. Yes. That's it. There you go. Easy job. Easy job. Thank you. I just need two. Okay, pop this back in the middle, and then you can do the official posing photograph. Oh, you can sit down. Yes, you can. Right now, pose and look official. Don't get ink on your dress.
Ian?
This is the Patrick. That's fine. They've all photographed themselves. How bad they joined us then? That's pretty, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, Joan and John are now husband and wife. But before you all go off to enjoy your festivities, I'd like to share with them and with all of you some words of wisdom from the writer Halil Jameson, which seem particularly fitting for the way that Joan and John have grown together. Relationships of all kinds are like sand held in your hand. Held loosely with an open hand, the sand remains where it is. The minute you close your hand and squeeze tightly to hold on, the sand trickles through your fingers. You may hold on to some of it, but mostly it will be spilled. A relationship is like that. Held loosely with respect and freedom for the other person, it's likely to remain intact. But hold too tightly, too possessively, and the relationship slips away and will be lost. Joan and John have achieved this wonderful balance, and we wish you well for the future and hope that it's a future filled with love, laughter, and the occasional bacon roll as a diversion and all of that healthy eating that she makes them do. Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you all to please stand if you're able? It now gives me the greatest of pleasure to present to you all, for the first time, our bride and groom, Joan and John. I think they on you go.
Internet. The wedding video. The wedding video. Really easy to hold. Brilliant.
I know, cream colour shoes, that's fatal. You're right, Auntie Sylvia.
Posh, very nice. How did you? Oh, that's nice. It's good. You hang on to it. Use it again.
On the head, we're going to get
It's
Take over a second. Wait. Wait.
At us, why? Here, we'll go.
absolutely. It wouldn't be right.
That was acting, that was acting.
Bit darker, isn't it?
No.